heard in the news earlier, sugar producer and agri group Tongaat-Hullett has grown revenue by 28% for the 12 months to December. Headline earnings for the period rose 44% to R839 million. Joining me on the line from Durban is CEO Peter Staude. Peter, good afternoon. Thanks for coming onto the programme.
Good afternoon, Stephen.
Peter, first of all, these are called interim results for the 12 months to December. You're changing your year end to March the 31st, so you're going to report again then for 15 months. Why the change?
Yeah, mainly because in the agricultural business you've got a season, and the sugar season really runs from April to the end of March. Before, when Anglo American was the majority shareholder, we sort of coincided with their year end, and we now have the opportunity to regularize it.
So it really just makes sense to have your financial year and the season in sync with one another?
Yes.
Well, clearly it's been a good period for you, though not without challenges. Weaker demand in some markets, although you did compensate with better margins, including in the starch and glucose markets. Are you continuing to see that weak demand there, or is it starting to improve?
I think it is pretty steady, I would describe it at the moment. We're certainly a little bit volume dependent today. The biggest issue in our starch business is what do we pay for maize compared to the world price. And as most people know, the South African maize crop that's coming up this year might well be the record crop in South Africa's history.
Of course, this is the second year running that you've had a very good crop in maize. I mean, do you think we get to see that continuing into the next year?
I think so. The interesting thing is that in the United States, they're also having their biggest maize crop ever. Mainly driven by the fact that the ethanol usage of maize is now shot up to 40%. And that's meant that the world maize price is a much higher level than it's traditionally been, which obviously encourages farmers to grow maize.
Recovery of your Zimbabwean operations, that's also started along with the dollarization of that economy. I mean, you're now working to re-establish supply and milling capacity utilization in Zimbabwe. What progress is being made there? When will you be fully on stream?
The biggest thing for us today is to get the cane supplies to mills up what they were there before. There are two components to that cane supply. One is our own millet plant estates, and there we're making good progress, and we should do it within 3 years to get back to the yields that we were before. The biggest difficulty for us lies with the outgrowers, and there we are making good progress. We have some EU money flowing into them, but that might take a little bit longer.
How integral is Zimbabwe to your plans to double your production to 1.9 million tonnes?
Well, Zimbabwe is sitting just below 300,000 at the moment, and we want to get it up to 600,000 tonnes, so there is a 300,000 tonne gap there per year.
And what sort of time span are we looking at to get to that 1.9 million capacity?
Look, there are different dynamics in different countries. The shortest dynamic is in Mozambique, where we've done the expansion. There's no socio-economic political issues. We're well on our way with the agricultural estates there, and there we within 2 years should be able to get to a full mill capacity. In South Africa, the dominant view is what will happen on world sugar prices going forward. Our own view is that those prices will remain quite high as people need to put in greenfield investment to come up with the underlying demand as well as the switch to ethanol. That will encourage cane growers to grow more cane, but that might take a little bit of time. And then Zim has just talked about.
Well, we're going to get back to that sugar price in just a moment. And just staying with Zim, perhaps, indigenization law comes into effect today. It commands 51% local ownership. How does that affect your operations in Zimbabwe? What sort of percentage of local ownership do you have in that market?
At the moment, on the indigenization issue, we are concentrating on re-establishing black Zimbabwean outgrowers. And that's a big part of our focus in Zimbabwe, to establish many of them around our mills. Obviously, in Zimbabwe, one learns not to overreact to events, and 5 years is still a long way out.
So it doesn't change your strategy in that country at all at the moment?
No.
Just looking at the sugar prices, of course, we had record high sugar prices in January, 29-year highs. They've plunged 24% since then, though. Where do you see them going from here? You were talking about support for those prices. Would you expect them to get back to those 29-year highs?
Look, it's always very difficult in the short term to predict the price. What we're much more in tune in are the long-term fundamentals. Historically, whenever the price was very high, you had Brazil pre-investing in new sugar capacity. Their own state-owned development finance company in the last 3 years has ceased to finance greenfield sugar expansions and rather put that money into ethanol and electricity. And when you look at the rest of the world, you can see why in the last 2 years we had a 26 million deficit in sugar production.
But of course, we do know that some countries like Egypt and Pakistan have been holding off on their buying, hoping that when the Brazil crop comes in after March, that the price will go down further.
It is so, but the reality is that in Brazil, increasingly you see the sugarcane diverting to ethanol, where a few years ago it was still in the 40s. That's now 57% of the cane going to ethanol production.
Peter, perhaps can you tell us maybe about the growing operations in agriculture, processing and land conversion, because this is also diversifying your business somewhat, isn't it?
Look, I think what, the whole, with global climate change, with renewable energy, with the growth in food demand, there's no doubt that we're going into a period of less stability in the past, and things like the interchangeability between maize and sugarcane is becoming increasingly important. Our view is that one shouldn't be tied too closely with one feedstock in this new world, and should have much more broader base.
Peter, we're going into the last month of your new financial year. What sorts of numbers are you going to be reporting back next time we chat?
We haven't made a strong outcome for that. We've still got our 15-month results that will come out, and we did indicate to people that there will be a bit of an anomaly in those 15 months, in the sense that those 15 months will contain one growing season but the overhead cost of two, and we're obviously very buoyant for the years ahead.